This conference will now be recorded.
I'll make a motion to approve the meeting minutes from 6/1 as amended.
I'll second that.
Any further discussions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes 5-0-0. Accounts payable, Sarah.
I'll call out a couple of them. 78899. Pay request 3 for Jefferson Drive. It's quite a large one. 78924 for the ash tree removal that we've approved in the past meetings. The rest are pretty self-explanatory. Does anyone have any questions? If not, I'll make a motion to approve the accounts payable in the amount of $198,246.79.
I'll second that.
Any further discussions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes 5-0-0. Thanks, Sarah. Public comments. We'll open the public comment portions. Individuals may address the city council about any item of concern. Speakers must state their name and limit their remarks to 2 minutes. Any public comment? Yes, Beth.
Beverly Munis, 509 East 9th Street, Zumbrota. And I'd like to address the poor condition of the asphalt from the corner of East 13th Street and Lally up 9th Street to where the gravel starts. Turning onto 9th Street from 13th, there's hardly any area that isn't broken up. And east of my driveway, right directly east of my driveway, the surface is down to the dirt. So cars heading east, going east, drive in the middle of the road to avoid the cavities on the blacktop. And despite the new 30-mile-an-hour speed limit signs, there are still many vehicles that are going well over 30 miles an hour when they are going in and out of town. And they are driving in the middle of the road and not, the ones going east are driving on that proper side of the road as to avoid those cavities. So I feel the deteriorated surface is a danger, and I'd like to know what your plan is as far as fixing our street.
You want me to answer?
If you want to.
Yes, we know. We are looking at a project to pave 9th Street all the way up. Probably the tail end of 2024, when Christ Lutheran finishes up their project. That's not approved yet. It's something we're looking, the council will see a request to start design pretty soon on that. And that'll come into play with our budget discussions and whether or not you would like to do some bonding for road projects. We will seek to lump 9th Street in with our other Mill and 6th Street projects as far as for next year. So we're working on it. We know about it. We agree. So.
How far up 9th Street were you guys planning on going if you did pave?
It would go.
Connect back around to the current construction project, or would it end at the?
Nope, we run out of city there. That hairpin turn or curve is in the township. So we would go all the way up to
That cul-de-sac, right?
all the way up to where Christ Lutheran would take from there. They would pave their portion along 460th.
Okay, so going past Dorothea.
Yep.
To the cul-de-sac where the.
That's the proposal right now. Yep. But we can't really do anything with that hairpin turn. It's not ours.
Okay, I just want clarification.
Yeah, absolutely. And one other thing, I forgot to leave agendas out here for everybody who wants. If anybody wants an agenda, we'll make some copies quick and get them out here. Usually I've got a pile there, but I forgot. Anybody? No? Good.
You said end of 2024?
Yeah, it'd be a 2024 project is the proposal that I'm talking to council about, or that we are talking to council about, or will be. Yep.
And the biggest thing is that because we want the Lutheran school to get done and completed before we pave that and do that. Otherwise, just the wear and tear of the trucks has kind of been why the 2024 has kind of been a project.
Yep.
Projected date.
It'll be under the 2024 budget, which we're working on right now. And that will be a special assessment project because that portion of the road has been gravel. So it'll be the first improvement of a road. So we'll be talking to you about that as well. But yes, we are planning on fixing all the way down to the corner. That portion of it will be replaced, but.
In the meantime, we request additional surveillance, just because there are families with small kids. There are people that walk that route quite a bit, and pets, and people and pets and their families, enough to where we're concerned about the safety. So it would be important to us to have additional surveillance posted there, so that we can know that our families are safe.
Sure, and I believe Jefferson is going to open up for traffic on Friday again. So the traffic flow will go back to what it was until they pave the last week in June. And then it'll be a little bit again. But everything should get back to normal pretty soon. And maybe normally it's been fast through there.
Normally, it's been very fast, enough to where, 30 to 50 plus is very common. And then when they reach Bev's part where it transitions back into blacktop, that's only when they start to slow down and they keep flying down the hill. So I do think that it's a safety hazard at this point.
Sure.
Sergeant, can we patrol that a little bit more too? I mean, just make a presence up there. I mean, and I guess that would be one thing if we have our police department hanging around there a little more, that once we do maybe pull over a couple people for speeding, that'll say, hey, we're out there patrolling it. So I know Walrick's on there, so maybe we can get extra patrol up there.
Thank you.
Yeah.
That answer your question, Bev?
Any more public comments? Any more public comments? I will close the public comment portion and we'll open up the public hearing meeting. Annexation of half of 460th Street. Kurt?
Yes, we have a public hearing today for the request to annex to encompass all of 460th Street. Proposed annexation description is the south 33 feet of the southeast quarter of the southeast quarter, section 31, township 110, range 15, Goodhue County, Minnesota, and south 33 feet, the west 323.47 feet of the southwest quarter of the southwest quarter, section 32, township 110, range 15, Goodhue County, Minnesota. The request is for 33 feet from the center of 460th Street heading north. The intent for this is to annex the entire road into the city. The total land would be 1.2 acres. Annexation is 0.3 miles long. And the annexation was presented to the Zumbrota Township at their April 11th meeting. Schedule of events since then, May 5th, property owners within 350 feet of the annexation were sent notices of a public hearing. May 14th, we set the public hearing. May 17th, the public notice of annexation was published in the news record, and public hearing today.
Perfect. Thanks, Kurt. Any questions for Kurt on that? Any public comment on annexation of 460th? Roger, state name.
Roger Ballstead, I'm the Zumbrota Township Chairman. And we have a number of questions. We were not aware that the south half of that road had been annexed. And I've asked a number of people, I've never got a specific answer of a date or paperwork or anything. So one of the issues for the township is we have a shared road agreement with Pine Island. So we've been taking care of a half of the road. If part of the road has been annexed into the city, we've been taking care of part of the city's road without our knowledge and any compensation or any agreement working with the city. So that's one of our issues. And then I guess the other big thing for me is we get paid for the miles of road we have in the township. That's a source of revenue for us. And we would need to know what compensation there might be. And then likewise, back to the shared road agreement, you know, we've been taking care of the road. If it's actually been part of the city, we don't even know exactly when it took place because it was never a part of what I've been aware of in the township. And there should be some compensation for taking care of the road for whatever period of time. Because we've been taking care of the road without any knowledge or permission or anything with the city of Zumbrota. If you actually have a third of that mile or whatever that is, we need to be talking. It's you know, we've been taking care of your road. We don't have permission to be there. We didn't know it was someone else's, so that's a concern for us. We need to at least see some documentation when the original half of the road was annexed, so we know where to start. So that's my first comment. Where does it go from here?
You want me to provide some background on that? All right. So there was a public hearing was published in the News Record for a hearing for the annexation on Thursday, June 6, 2019 at 6:05 p.m. So 2019 was a public hearing that was posted in the paper, News Record, where it should be. There was also letters sent out to adjacent owners, which is standard protocol. It looks to me like the Carlson and Sons are the ones that were in Zumbrota Township. I believe the rest of them are all Pine Island Township that the letters were sent to, which is standard as well. The annexation, I don't have the actual annexation, but shortly after that, when the signed documents would have been submitted to Star Holman at the the administrative law judge granted the annexation, shortly after June 6th in 2019. Yeah, I've got the memo that was part of that council meeting as well. So it was posted, had public postings out there. It wasn't done, it wasn't a secret, it was all publicly posted the way it should be. And as far as maintaining half of the road, you said you have an agreement or had an agreement with Pine Island?
We have an agreement with Pine Island. We didn't know,
So
they never approached us that they were putting over a part of their road to the city of Zumbrota. We've never had any information, which.
So in the last 3 years, have you been in contact with them about that agreement, or has there been money exchanged as part of that agreement, or what happened to that agreement?
No, the agreement is the way it's written. We take care of this mile of road, they take care of that mile of road. We do all the grading, the maintenance, all that on our part, which is the 460 part that's in question.
Okay.
We just trade, okay, you take care of this one, we take care of that one.
Sure.
So that's how there is no money exchange. It's a written agreement and it's registered at the county. We provided all of that to all of our bordering neighbors. We just didn't know you were a participant. And that's kind of what, there may have been a public notice, but you still should have approached us because now you were our neighbor. And we're all supposed to have agreements.
Sure.
I mean, I'm not saying you particular,
No,
Brian.
I understand.
But I mean, you as the city,
Yep.
The city should have been approaching us and saying, hey, let's work something out here.
I guess
A
little bit part of it,
But
I guess just a little bit part of it, I don't know how the city is supposed to know those agreements exist, So we were probably under the impression that was working off from Pine Island Township, which we have no way of knowing that you would be a shared cost in that road.
Well, I can't answer that, but you still knew that we were on the north side there, that's Zumbrota Township, and, nothing happened there. So You know, how do we, it's not right for us to pay to plow the city's part of the road or without some kind of agreement, how we're gonna handle that, so. I guess my township would ask for compensation for that since the agreement started, because we were just totally unaware.
Do you have a figure in mind?
Yes. We have road maintenance. It cost us, in our township, according to our 22, our cost in 2022, it cost us $47.74 per mile to all, you know, gravel, grading, snow plowing, the whole 9 yards per mile, which amounts to approximately $15.91 per third mile. And that's on a per year basis. And then the other part is the revenue aspect of giving up the road.
And what's that revenue?
Well, we receive $589 per mile annually on a road, which for a third of a mile is approximately $196 and some change. But if we were giving up this road forever, you know, we want to be compensated for more than just 1 year. That's revenue that the township has counted on.
But you don't have to maintain this portion of the road. What do you need the revenue for this portion of the road for? Moving forward.
It's part of our overall picture.
But we're talking about a certain portion of a road. You don't need that revenue anymore for that portion of the road because you're not maintaining it. So I would say that would be a no-go in my mind right off the bat.
In other annexations, we've received an adjustment.
Based on that?
Well, not on this number, because this situation hasn't come up.
Sure, but
when we've annexed other portions of our township to the city or whoever, there's been compensation to compensate us for our lost revenue.
on land, not necessarily on a road. But I haven't seen anything other than taxes that I don't.
Well, I haven't researched it, Ryan, so I don't know all the details and the ins and outs and how this is done, because we didn't even know this actually took place, so we're working from the bottom end on this one. We're trying to figure out what's going on and, you know, what we need to be doing about it or how it should be handled. I haven't researched how, when roads are annexed, because I didn't even know that happened, because I thought that all roads were public. And,
Well, when an
I just,
In my mind, Pine Island should have notified you because now they've been doing a portion of a road more than you have done. You know what I mean?
right, but this,
So they should have been the ones to notify you. We did the public hearing and all the other things. I'm sorry it fell through the cracks. I mean, if we knew we needed to notify you, we would have done so. But I think we should review what this is, what the cost would be to pay for the last 3 years and bring that back to council.
Well, then I would submit to the council that rather than a per mile average, I'd like to know and see the documentation of what was done on that stretch of road. If we've got, invoices, let's see. I'd like to see, dated in, yeah, no, absolutely. If you've got the information, so dated invoices, actual cost, that type of stuff for that portion of the road, then I would say that, yeah, council should take that in consideration for sure.
I can tell you it's probably gonna be more than that figure that Ryan gave you, because in 19, the Road Township, we did a lot of that into that road, putting riprap in there and fabric down with O'Brien grading. There's lots of money stuck into that end of that road in 2019. So the maintenance on that end of the road is gonna be significantly higher from 2019 on.
Well,
And, you know,
Did Pine Island pay for the other half of it?
No, that's our mile to take care of, but according to our agreement.
Okay, sure.
and you know, I understand that you guys think that Pine Island should have notified us, but there's 3 of us in this. Pine Island, Zimbrota, and Zimbrota Township. I mean, we had no idea that it was annexed in, and we didn't know you guys wanted to annex in our half of the road until 2 months ago when dirt work started. So in my eyes, when Pine Island Township, that half was annexed in, it should have been upon you guys to come to Zimbrota Township that year or the next year and say, hey, heads up, we're gonna wanna annex in your half of the road. Not come to us 2 months ago when dirt's already being removed out there. And the excuse is we had to wait for engineering for the school before we could come and ask you to annex in your half of the road. So to me, just a heads up would have been more beneficial in this whole thing. Because you guys knew more about what was going on with the church building out there, that land, than the township did. We're literally like, 3 miles to the township hall. All it would have been is somebody coming out saying this is what's going on. We're more than likely gonna need to annex this half of the road in a few years down the road.
So,
I think it was handled very poorly. And, I mean, if it would have been handled differently, I don't think we would be here.
so it was my understanding, Jason, that Alan had had a conversation with you over that annexation, because that's where it actually comes through for that annexation request was Alan, and he said he had that conversation
Yes.
with you, so.
So I'll tell you the conversation Alan and I had. He called me 1.5 years ago. He said, has the city been out to talk to you guys? I said, nope. He said, great, they'll be out to talk to you within a month or two. Well, 1 year and 4 months later, we finally hear from the city. So yes, Alan did call me, told me that the city is gonna need to annex that in. But he told me the city was gonna come out and talk to Zimbrota Township because the hill needed to be regraded for the church. Last we heard from the city was 2 months ago. That was the first time we heard from the city. So yes, I heard from Alan, but he told me that the city was gonna contact the township about the project going on out there and what was gonna.
I just had a little different conversations also. That's fine.
Well, and it should be understood that this annexation request is from Alan Schumacher, not from the city of Zimbrota. And yes, we've been working with them for quite a while. I think probably before I got here, there was talk of this ministry center happening. It wasn't until we received the request to annex that half of the road that we came to you guys, we had the request. Inherently, I guess at some point it would probably happen. The reality of it is you could have half the road, I suppose, if you want to keep half the road. I don't know the logistics of that legally and how that all works, but when we did another annexation up there, it was requested that we annex the whole road because the township didn't want any responsibility for a paved road. And we had to annex the whole thing. So, here we are. We came to you as soon as we got the request. There was no reason for us to come any sooner because we didn't have the request. We didn't know where Christ Lutheran was in their project until it got going here.
I respectfully disagree with part of your statement. I think you needed to have come to the township, you being the city, when you knew half was, because there needed to be a shared road agreement. If there was nothing else, there still needed to be a shared road agreement, which is standard policy by the county. So I kind of disagree with part of what you just said. I think the obligation here was on the city. They're the ones that annexed it in. Well, as soon as the annexation took place, that's when it became the city's responsibility.
That's exactly why we've asked the council to consider the maintenance cost, the actual maintenance cost that you will provide to us as part of this.
Any more public comments on the public hearing? Any questions from the council? Go from here that we put numbers together and figure out what they're asking for their maintenance over the last 3 years with proof of what maintenance they've done. And then we just bring it back to council and figure out where we want to go with that. How does that sound? Or other opinions, ideas?
Yeah, Matt, should that be a motion during the regular meeting? Because I've got on here, bad wording, I had approval on there. I should not have put approve because it was discussion. For that, we could table that and make a motion to what he just said. Does that make sense?
It's a proposed orderly annexation, joint annexation agreement as opposed to annexation by ordinance, right?
Yep.
So we're just taking input today. And right, it will be tabled until it's negotiated with the township.
Okay, and then the minutes can just reflect based on the public comments that council has directed staff to go back and review the numbers. And then we can bring it back as a motion later once we come to an agreement.
Do we want to do a timeline for we have time to do it on next council, or is it just kind of the balls in the township's courts when they get us the
How
number?
quickly you think you could?
Township would have to call, put notice of meeting and call a meeting. The protocol to have a meeting. We've already had our monthly meeting for June, and I think our next scheduled meeting is July 17th, so.
So when can you get us numbers that we can say, okay?
Well, I would
Because-
say 2 weeks.
Yeah, because our next council meeting won't be till July 13th, so we could wrap this all up and you guys could do your thing and we could do our thing in July. If we can get together in the meantime and iron out the differences or the cost or whatever it is going to be. Or maybe it doesn't matter, maybe we just hold it till August,
I mean, I'd rather get some dates on there for it's not hanging out there for months.
Sure.
I mean, let's do something and move on. So I don't know when you can get the information, Roger, or?
Well, I have to talk to my clerk and the board has to go over it.
Oh, yeah.
It's just, I can't just do it here, so, I mean, it's gotta,
Maybe we should do it in August after.
Well,
How about
So
August
July.
1st? You can have your stuff and then we can.
that would give us plenty of time. We have the maps and, all our receipts and stuff. It just,
Put a date, otherwise it gets carried past. So August 1st and then the first meeting in August,
Yep.
we can.
So you need to adjourn the public meeting and then
Yep.
go to the regular meeting and then we'll do that
Perfect.
under the A- or 1A or whatever.
Perfect. I will close the public hearing portion of this and I'll start with new business, discussion of the annexation of 460th Street. So we'll give the township to August 1st to get us numbers.
Well, better be before that if we're going to put it on that council agenda. When is your meeting in July?
17th,
July 17th.
Sometime after-
24th, which is that following Monday. You can get us numbers and what you've done in the last 3 years and what you guys are thinking. And so then we can discuss it and go back to you and then have something more in stone for our first meeting in August, which I believe is the 3rd. Does that sound good, Raj?
Yep.
Perfect.
Who made that? Somebody needs to make.
So I need to make a motion on that.
I'll make a motion to, that's right, receive the numbers from the township July 24th for our upcoming August 1st meeting. Is that correct?
August 3rd, yeah.
August 3rd.
Perfect. Any further discussions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes 5-0-0. Let's jump to 9A, 2022 City Audit Review and Approval. Morg. Where's everybody going?
One way to clear a room, have the auditor come.
Tower mark.
I sometimes have that. I was just asking, why do you, not why
Why did you do this? I don't understand the process. And I had to comment on this because he was just a little concerned. So. Oh, what? Oh. Do I carry the joint package in my pocket?
No.
Well, yeah, you should.
I think that we did last year.
Is that what I did last year?
Yeah, I think.
I don't remember what I did. See, some places they just get me a lapel mic because I can't stand still. There we go. Does this make me look official
Or something.
or something? Do I need to push any buttons or anything, or is it just working?
Oh, good to go. You're green,
Okay.
so.
I'm gonna have to go on paper. Here, you see how they're on the screen?
Ow, that kind of hurts.
You're the last one standing.
Yeah, it's like everybody else left.
And James.
I've got one for Brian.
Okay.
No, you did not.
Will this be as exciting as the last one, Mark?
I don't know.
The last agenda
Aren't
item?
all audits exciting?
Absolutely. This is what you get.
This is the responsible. Oh.
9C.
Okay, that was my time. I got just a few minutes. So, my name is Mark Murch. I am the auditor for the city of Zumbrota. We have a couple of new council members. Joan and I have spoken. Kevin, I don't believe you and I talked. If you have questions, be sure to let me know, okay? If I talk too fast, blame him. But please stop if you have questions, because this is very important stuff. Basically, what I do is I look at a variety of things that the city does. Okay, I look at the numbers, I look at procedures, and we go from there. You know, how do things look? I conduct my audit in accordance with generally accepted accounting principles, okay? And I use generally accepted auditing techniques to do it. So I got a lot of rules to obey when I do this. New software this year. Your new software, which I actually am excited about because it gave me my audit numbers. I extract your numbers from the system, and then I do a variety of testing on them, okay? When I do my testing, I look at a variety of things. We do physical testing. Did you really spend your money on this? Okay, earlier we heard the accounts payable was approved. That's very important. That's part of your due diligence. And we heard the accounts payable. You have access to the accounts payable. That's part of your duties as a member of the council. Sorry, I'm going to put hearing aids are so much fun. Either I can hear a pin drop a mile away or I can't hear anything. So basically, you know, that's part of the audit. I also do analytical procedures. If this moves this way and this moves this way, then that should move that way. And that's one of the primary techniques I use when I do an audit. So this year, you've got several new funds. You've got a fund that's been, if you will, resurrected, the street lighting fund. You've got several new funds. You've got the Mill Street Capital Projects Fund, and you've got the Keller Bateman, you've got the Bartman, sorry, and the Jeep. I have a couple of staff that I work with, and what you need to know about that is we have done this for quite a while. I've done several large entities, and we do federal and state compliance work. So we're accustomed to this. I do an audit of the financial statements, okay, in accordance with how the state of Minnesota wants it. Now, these financial statements are in accordance with what's called, I'm sorry, I'm throwing a lot of terminology. Have you got all this terminology? We'll do a test later. Okay. What the Governmental Accounting Standards Boards require. Okay, so I don't just do an audit and just tell you about it. You've got a whole booklet that you'll be getting that shows you what happened. And that's done, it's called the GASB 34 format. which is a format I really very strongly disagree with, but they don't really ask my opinion. And on that, I have to take your fund financial statements, which is how governmental financials have traditionally been shown through the last umpteen zillion years. And I have to turn around and prepare what's called government-wide financials. And these financials are full accrual, okay, which in theory is supposed to look like a business. It doesn't, but that's their attempt. We also look at pronouncements, and Kim and I talked about some pronouncements last week, this week. It all gets to be a blur because GASB, Governmental Accounting Standards Board, is continually changing these things. You know, what they have to do. There's something coming up on compensated absences. The one I don't know that we talked about is potentially your, how we handle your computer software, because that's a new, more of a subscription service is now being addressed by the system and has to be handled. Are we having fun yet? Are you following me?
Right with you.
You're right with so far?
Mhm.
Okay. I do quite a few different procedures, and we've already talked about that. Let's basically talk about the financials, and I'm sorry, we don't have it. You've got what I call in the 4 business sectors called the balance sheet. The balance sheet is where you're at as of a point in time. Assets is what you got, liabilities is what you owe, and equity is what's left over that you can use. Obviously for you, there's a lot of parameters on that because you can't just spend it. You know, if it's capital projects, you've got to spend it on capital projects and so forth. One of the things I really want to touch on this year is, in my very dynamic presentation that looks nothing like that, is, you know, your revenue streams. You have 3 major revenue streams, and these 3 major revenue streams provide a 75% of 87% of your income. Okay, so you are dependent on these revenue streams: property taxes, intergovernmental, and other, which is a conglomeration. This year, mostly capital projects type stuff. So you have a dependence on just a couple of revenue streams. Now, one of the things I advise my nonprofit clients is always look at developing additional revenue streams. Obviously, you're constricted based upon what you do, but that's something to be aware of. Now, we turn to the expense side of things, or expenditures as you call them, and you've got public safety takes up 23%, public works 14%, and capital projects 18%. And these 3 major basically are 55% of your expenditures. In other words, you have some dependencies on revenues, but your expense stream is varied enough that potentially, if you had to, you could trim them down if you needed to. Why do I say that? Well, I know Kim remembers, I don't know if anybody else, a fair number of years ago, the state decided, yeah, we're not going to give you your last chunk of LGA, local government aid. How? It's December. How can you do this? You know, you're dependent on this. And that's one of the reasons it's nice to have a variety of expenditure streams. One of my other favorite things is per capita. What I do is I try to look at a variety of cities, and the cities I chose are obviously Zumbrota, Cannon Falls, Goodhue, Lake City, Pine Island, and Rochester. What I like about per capita is that this is dividing this up on per person basis. Okay, so on a per person basis, where do you sit? And we've got property taxes, total revenue, total expenditures, capital outlay, and debt. Now, those are all very important components. There's a whole lot of components to look at, but I focus on these because if I see a trend in a city, I can tell you what's going to happen with the city just based on these numbers. If a city has a high debt burden, low capital outlay, low maintenance repairs, they're going to have a bad time, you know, when all the roads collapse and so forth. What I've typically seen here is, you know, ongoing maintenance and so forth. So debt service. You have the lowest per capita debt service of everybody, of all these cities, okay, which is great. And you had a 3.12 million, you know, bond last year, and you still have the lowest. So I think that's huge. In other words, you haven't depended on debt to run the city. Second is capital outlay. You're number 5 in capital outlay, 1 being the highest dollar amount, 5 being the least highest dollar amount, or I'm sorry, 6 is the least. So you're 5 on capital outlay. So you are spending some money every year on capital outlay. Once again, keeps the equipment and the roads from just collapsing. You're spending some money, but you're not spending a huge chunk. Some cities I see, they're spending a whole bunch one year and nothing the next year. And that, like the debt, tends to tell me they're going to have problems. Your total revenue is your 5th place out of 6. So in other words, you're not taxing your people as much. Your total revenue is $1,134 per citizen. Now Rochester is $1,900 per citizen. Once again, this is apples to apples comparison from the standpoint that we're using a per capita, per person basis. And that's why that's so important. So they're actually, their debt service isn't bad. Their capital outlay is $575 per person. Okay. So you can see that as we go through this is a distinctly different, environment that they're in compared to you. And this is something I've talked to Brian about, Kim and I have talked about, that's really great. I'm really happy with that. I don't see a trend. Now, if I look at it, Cannon Falls has a debt burden of $273 per person. Ouch, compared to 64. Their capital outlay was 176, so they're not putting money out, and their expenditures are $1,400 per person compared to $1,000. So you can see someplace like Cannon Falls on a per capita basis is a vastly different environment. You don't have the final audit yet. I've got to do what's called the government-wide financials because of the wisdom of the state and the feds. They require us to do it this way. So I'll be finishing that and getting that to you. When I do that, you'll see 2 letters. The 2 letters are, 1, a reportable condition. What is the reportable condition? Segregation of duties. You don't have enough people to segregate appropriately, which is, I expect that. 99% of my clients have that. How do you mitigate that? Through the council seeing what's going on, through the council's approval of accounts payable. That's why this is such a critical component of the operation of the city. So yes, you have the reportable condition. You'll continue to have it. You need to be aware of it. Through the years, we've Kim and I have talked, and we've implemented different procedures to help improve, some internal controls, and we'll continue to look at those on an annual basis. The second is a governance letter. The governance, I can say this, the governance letter basically. What?
No.
Yeah, okay. Anybody else want to give that a try? The governance letter says, hey, I didn't have any arguments with Kim or Brian. And really, because if I was, you guys would know about it before this. So I have no issues. Kim and I didn't agree. Well, we did, but we arm wrestled and everything was okay. Yeah. But that's also a very important letter because that tells you, because my duty is to you as a council. My duty is not to Brian or Kim. They facilitate things, but my duty is for you as the council to understand what I've done and be comfortable with it. There you have it. That is the audit.
So what I heard you say is we did good.
You did good. You did good.
You say that every year, Sarah.
I said what?
Sarah says that every year.
Yeah.
Continue to do.
Did I understand that right?
Yes. And it's true. You did. And once again, if you didn't, we'd be talking before this.
So were the people.
Right.
Yeah. And I take it very seriously. I maintain my independence. I'm required to. I need to be independent of the city or any of my audit clients by both appearance and reality. I can't do management functions. If you were to come to me and say, hey, Mark, do you think, tell us if we should, fire Kim or whatever.
She would have been gone.
I'm not saying that we arm wrestled about that, but basically, I can't make that decision. If you ask me a recommendation, whatever it is, then I can tell you my thoughts and my recommendation, but I can't make a decision. So I maintain my independence, and that's very important. Now, questions?
Joan?
I had talked,
I'm sorry?
you and I had talked.
Yes.
You called in, so that helped a little bit, and your explanation here is helpful as well, so.
Good.
I'm not saying I'm grasping everything, but he's been very, yeah.
I try to make it, understandable because it's really important. We deal with a lot of numbers. And actually, I'll also say that the staff does an excellent job because auditing is both an art and a science. The science is, can you show me that voucher and can you prove that that's really there? Okay, that's the science of it. And well, you guys buy a piece of equipment, we go look at it. You do a part of a road, we go drive on it. So through what we do, we go down your roads. We look at all your new equipment. We went and looked at the new building out there. Okay, and the art of it is how I interact with people. If you can look me in the eye, that goes a long way. If you get me the information on a timely basis, and Kim does an excellent, and Brian do an excellent job of that. So, and that's also very important. And yes, in my career, I have uncovered fraud, and there are several people in jail because of it. But that's not, I don't like to get to that situation, but I have had it happen. So a plug for Kim and Brian.
It'd be pretty tough for Kurt to look you in the eye. Maybe look at the top of your head.
Well, I was saying that earlier. Him and I look eye to eye when he's sitting down.
Yeah, I know, me too.
Maybe.
A little bit of a crisis during the audit. He had to get something from the top shelf for us.
Yeah, always. Just don't ask him to use the microwave.
Could you come by the off sale? Heard I have some things.
I know, anytime you know.
Yeah, you'll be there for that for sure.
Perfect. Any questions for Mark?
I have one quick question. So I have this on here on the agenda as approval to accept the 2022 audit. Should that wait until the final? Or are we okay to accept it?
It's not going to
substantiate.
the what's basically left is housekeeping issues. I have to prepare some stuff for the state of Minnesota. There's nothing that's going to change beyond this. You do have detailed, financials, and you'll receive that. And I've gone through them. Kim really hasn't had an opportunity to go through them, but she will. If you choose to wait, that's fine. But if you choose to accept it, that's fine as well. I don't anticipate any
Usually
changes.
approve it when we have the booklet in our hand.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that's up to you, whatever you're comfortable with.
Okay.
So let's wait on that until Kim can look at it.
It'll be submitted by June 30th.
Yeah, perfect.
Okay.
So we'll just wait to approve that.
So we've got an agenda item. Do we need a motion to table that until?
I don't think we need a motion to table that, do we? Matt?
No.
No.
Okay, good.
Perfect. Thanks, Mark.
All
You
right,
do a
thank
wonderful
you.
job. I think this is my 7th year listening to this, so.
I don't want to take this home with me.
We'll hear you in the comments.
And if you do have questions, feel free. He's got my number.
Thanks, Mark.
Thanks, Mark. Always a great job.
Thank you, Mark.
Tim's got his number on speed dial, I think.
9B, Resolution 2023-09, Committee for Ordinance Definition and Enforcement Resolution. We'll call it code. Brian?
Yes, we finally have something for you to consider approving. We were going to do an ordinance. I was going to do it by ordinance, and then speaking to Matt, it really fit as a resolution. There's a little bit different posting rule with that. For meetings, I just have to post the meeting on the bulletin boards ahead of time, which is no problem. But basically, it's everything that we had previously talked about, just all rolled into an ordinance. Thanks to Matt, gave me the legal wording, so I appreciate that. But yeah, it's just as we discussed before, same makeup. There's same proposed makeup with the city administrator as an ex officio, the mayor will be a member, one of the police officers or police chief, and then one member from the city council, and then one member from the planning commission, since it was stated that the planning commission deals with ordinances already. It'd be good to have someone on there with those expertise, and then 2 citizens.
3 citizens or
Two, well, it'll be three. It'll be three because the planning commission person is a citizen as well.
Okay.
So this will give the citizens some input on ordinances and again, it would just have the authority to make recommendations to council. But it'll be another set of eyes reviewing and providing feedback, which will include citizens, which I think is a good thing. Especially if we start actively enforcing some ordinances. It'll be good to have some citizen input before we do that. As you know, we've been doing complaint basis so far on ordinances. And maybe we'll continue to that, maybe not. Depends on what the recommendations come from the committee. So.
Do we have it when we meet on here? Sorry.
No, let's see, it reads, basically you set meetings, at least one regular meeting each month. So we can set when that is, and once we have them, we'll include the appointments and the meetings all in the January 1st.
I thought for some reason we had picked a certain day every month.
We hadn't picked
Okay.
one yet, but we can form the committee and then the first committee meeting can be to discuss
When we want to do it.
what
Perfect.
day and time works best.
Perfect.
I'll make a motion to approve resolution number 2023-09.
I'll second that.
We will do roll call. Sarah?
Aye.
Bob?
Aye.
Joan? Kevin?
Aye.
I say aye, passes 5-0-0. Thanks, Brian and Matt Rockney for the work on that. 9D, Covered Bridge Park Trail Improvements Bid Award.
Missy.
Oh, corporate resolutions. I crossed it up. Corporate resolutions, SBB Bank of Winona or Wadamingo.
Domingo.
Kim?
In order to have anything designated official depository, we have signatories. So I believe that Brian included the documentation. We look at what we normally go with. We usually have mayor, acting mayor, city administrator, usually need 2 or 3 signatures. And then if it's something that we take out, we should have to go through.
Good work finding us the best rate. Good work finding us the best rate. I'll make a motion to approve ordinance number 2023-01.
Second that.
Oh, hold on.
What did you say?
That's what it says on the top of the, oh no, that's this.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm on the wrong thing.
Yeah, I was like,
Sorry.
what's going
I'm
on?
reading the wrong thing. So, corporate resolution.
Yeah.
So I'll make a motion to approve this corporate authorization resolution. That was, I'm reading the wrong thing.
I'll second that.
Any further discussions? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes 5-0-0. Thanks, Kim. Let's do 9D, Covered Bridge Park Trail Improvements Bid Award. Mike?
So, back in May, council, you guys gave approval to go out for advertising for bids for it'd just be the interior of the park here. And we opened the bids on June 8th. Askelsen's service from Red Wing was low bid in the amount of $257,528.90. There's a portion of that we're going to add to the new bathrooms up by the shelter. We're going to cut in a new trail up there to get down to Kids Kingdom. Other bidders were SL Contracting, Rochester Sand and Gravel, and Sunram Construction Incorporated. Are there any questions?
I'll make a motion to approve
Askelsen's.
Askelsen's.
Yep.
Services bid of $257,528.
I'll second that.
Any further discussions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes 5-0-0. Thanks, Mike, for doing that work on that.
Can I just make a comment about that?
No, because my wife already did, because now she ain't gonna have a trail to walk on.
Well, it's going to be a beautiful trail when it's
Yeah.
done. This is one of those things where we constantly hear about the trail and how terrible it is. And so we're just glad to be able to get that fixed up now. It should be good for the next long time after this. So it'll be nice. I don't know if you've ridden your bike on this part of the trail down there, but you about chatter your teeth out riding your bike down there. So So anyway, we're very glad to be able to have the dollars and get that done within the park. So anyway.
Mike, do you know when the last time we resurfaced that roughly? Kim?
It's never been resurfaced.
Yeah, I think
So when was it put in? Do we know that?
97.
I was gonna say, it was it was shortly after I was out of high school.
It was when the bridge went across. It was part of the whole thing.
So it's 26 years old and gone through several floodings
Almost
over.
30.
Yeah, so, perfect. Thanks, Mike.
I remember rollerblading on it first,
You won't now.
and I wouldn't anyway, so.
9E, North Snow Sanitary District update. Brian?
Yes, we got the update. I told you before that we're trying to do monthly updates as a group, so we convey the same information to all of our councils and communities. This is our June update. Right now, we are working on setting up a joint powers agreement. The JPA was written into the $10 million bill, that it being the entity that would host these dollars and make the decisions. So once we have the joint powers agreement in place, or the draft, and then we will do another resolution of support, and we'll bring those back to the respective councils for approval. And, that approval will grant the decision-making authority to the members of the joint powers. Of course, everything will come back to council along the way as well. But we're also working with the entity hosting the dollars. We're working with them to make sure whatever things we need to do to access the money. And also we will have a meeting with the MPCA on June 29th to start talking about the steps for permitting, anti-degradation, all the things permitting wise that we need to be aware of, and kind of a timeline for all of that. So we're full steam ahead. I think in here it talks about putting together a little get together with the legislators that were involved, just as a kind of a thank you and decompress before we start the push for the last funding to complete the project. But so keep an eye on that. That'll be coming up at some point. And of course, everybody will be invited to join just for some refreshments and a little social hour. So anyway, that's what I had on that.
Perfect. Any questions for Brian? Perfect. Thanks, Brian. Report. Brian.
Nothing.
Perfect. What?
Nothing.
Okay. Matt? Sarge? Kimberly?
I do have a question. I just came into my head because, I think of numbers, but I was thinking, going back to the township conversation, they said they had an agreement with Pine Island Township and that it traded road space. So my question is, if Pine Island was still maintaining the road that they traded,
Right.
then officially they truly weren't out any money, and actually who should be reimbursed is Pine Island Township?
Kind of.
I just was thinking about that. I realize there may be some other things about that, but
Well, that's the point I was trying to make.
yeah,
but
they were getting reimbursed by Pine Island. If they were trading, they were bartered off that piece.
My point about why Pine Island should have said something, because then they would have gotten.
Pine Island's really the one, in my opinion, when I look at it, unless I'm missing something, that was out money.
Yeah.
I realize there may be some other things they were talking with that riprap and stuff, and I don't know anything about that. And the other thing is, I would have to concur with Brian for the fact that if they aren't maintaining the road and they lose that income, it's a wash, because they aren't spending the money to maintain the road. So, but I just was thinking, really, Pine Island Township is the one that's out the money. I'm not quite understanding the logic behind it.
That's what I was trying to say, and then I kind of lost. I was like, wait, that's not what I meant.
And I wasn't withholding it from them. It just came to me. I'm just putting it out there.
But that's what I was trying to get to, and I couldn't quite get there, so thank you.
But they contend they were still doing the work on this area of the road, so they were
But
both still doing work. Oh, yeah, so
Pine
maybe
Island-
maybe it should be split.
Tell them to stop.
Because Pine Island was taking care of part of their road
Yeah.
somewhere else.
Maybe the dollars should be split then, whatever the dollars are. I don't know. But anyway, we'll take a look at all of that. And come up with whatever makes sense, it needs to make sense all the way around, so
Here's $10.
try our best.
Anything else, Kim?
No,
Thank you. Kurt?
Nothing.
Mike?
Well, I have a project update. Somebody just went out and took a few pictures again. I think it's always good for you guys to see, and if you haven't got out, I would advise to get out there and look at it. I know Bob gets to see it kind of firsthand about every day, but they really made a lot of progress now, and maybe we won't do that either.
Are they ahead of schedule according, Mike, do you know? Are they behind? Because, I mean,
I think they're just,
They're
on
fine?
they're on schedule. That's some of the subcut up at that Quick Trip entrance. So from Main Street going back east, that soil was pretty bad. Now when they jump across the road on the west side of 58 by the bank there, that looks like that's going to be much better, but they had a pretty good subcut in there.
It looks so neat to look up the road.
Yeah,
because
it's all
so
wide,
now.
yeah.
It's
You
like,
see the
oh,
curve.
It's gonna be so good. Yeah.
Now we just need to put bright lights. We're gonna be like Sturtville.
That's just some more of the
What?
work in the,
I was born and raised there, Sturtville.
that's just some more of the work of getting the road and getting it ready for curb and stuff. Catch basins, that's just before they put the curb down in there, and then the company comes in, sets all the catch basins, and they'll get the curb in. That's what they would call farming out the road to try to dry it out. Surprisingly, or not surprisingly, but there is wetlands up by Woodlands. And we had to run tile line around one of our manholes up on 19th Street just to get the water to drain. And even after that, it was coming up through the curb box, the water was, so we still couldn't get rid of it, so.
Yeah, and Mike's been doing a good job of catching these things along the way, whether they were in the project or not. Some of these things are little things, but Mike's doing a great job flagging those, and we're fixing them while we're there rather than, not handling them while it's open. So appreciate that.
There's that look that Sarah was talking about when you look up there with the new curb put in. And they got the curb on the north side backfilled there.
It made me think, this is how it should always have been.
That's looking up 19th Street, so that's just the tie-in on 19th Street. They'll have, yeah, of course, on that side too, they had ped ramps on both sides of that because that trail goes all the way up through there, but. And then the Quick Trip entrance, and they had a little bit of issue with that. And from what I understood today was Quick Trip has asked that parts of that driveway be removed because somebody got in there with a bike before it was dry or set, and they tried to patch over it, so, and that's on the contractor, so,
Patch is pretty ugly.
yeah.
So.
And it wasn't that they just drove in there, then they turned around and came back out too,
A bike or a car?
bike.
Footprints too.
A pedal bike?
A kid bike.
But, I mean, they sunk in, from what I understood, about 3/4 of an inch, so it was a pretty good groove in there. Just another shot of it, looking up Jefferson to the east.
And these will be ramped up
Yeah,
temporarily to access.
not 100% sure how it's gonna work out, just because, when I was talking with Jack today, they would just assume keep that closed until they got those repairs done in there, but otherwise it was on schedule to open up tomorrow and have traffic coming there, so we'll have to see what they decide. That's on the west side, on the bank side. Just the start of, they took the concrete out, got started on some of the grading. Just another shot there too, looking that way. So that is the water main on the Ford side. We had two services that were old services. Some of you maybe remember the Hannenberger house that was there. That old house, or it wasn't an old house,
Yeah,
but
I remember.
And then there was another service down closer to the fire hall, and they were removed, and we put repair clamps on them. And then that was today, they had the water shut off, big shut off, because that killed all of the Jacobson addition too. But and they had a hydrant to relocate, and then they have a wet tap tomorrow on that, so.
How many hours were they, was the water off?
I think three and a
Okay,
half,
so-
3.5 hours maybe.
So under
Under
anticipated.
4, you know.
Nice.
That was, they're working on that, getting that hydrant ready to move. That's it.
Perfect. Love the pics, Mike.
I'll continue, you know, as some things come up, I'll continue to bring you an update every once in a while on it.
Yeah, they got the bridge part, that when they get down past the Mayo Clinic area, they got all them on site now? The bridge culverts,
No.
but they're made, aren't they? They're
Yeah.
done, okay.
And schedule wise, it's still, the weekly schedule is always posted on our website, social media. Sounds like, yeah, they're paving, and last week in June, at least the first lift or first couple lifts right in there.
They'll have the first lift down, and then they got 2 more lifts of blacktop to put on that.
So then you really get to start to see the final product, and that'll
That'll
be
be
good.
nice.
Moving into the rest of the neighborhoods, that'll be good that people can see, okay, if I'm patient, this is what it's gonna turn out like, so.
Perfect. Anything else, Mike? Thank you. I have nothing. Sarah? EOB? Joan? Kevin? Meeting adjourned.